Visit any expat for relocation assistance and onlyowners.net for vacation rentals.
The 25 best countries for retirees. Where does the UK rank? What makes a good retirement country? The 2024 Natixis Global Retirement Index, GRI, ranks the UK as the 16th best country for retirement, with notable improvements from previous years. The UK benefits from strong scores in material well-being and quality of life. However, it ranks below top performers like Norway, Switzerland, and Iceland, which dominate the list due to excellent healthcare, low unemployment, and strong retirement finances. A good retirement country is determined by factors like health systems, financial security, material well-being, and quality of life. Metrics such as healthcare spending, income equality, governance, and environmental quality play significant roles in these evaluations. Countries like Norway, ranked first, excel due to high life expectancy, robust social security systems, and quality of living standards. Singapore didn't make the top 25 last year, but it now sneaks in with 67%, having improved its score by 2 points. Apart from finances in retirement, all its sub-indices are on the up. Health is a particular success story, jumping 6 percentage points to 88%. It's no surprise. Singapore's healthcare system is described as the most efficient in the world, and its average life expectancy is among the highest globally at almost 84 years. However, the Lion City's quality of life and material well-being still score relatively poorly at 55% and 56% respectively. These lower ratings can be attributed to high pollution levels, comparative lack of biodiversity, and poor income equality. With a score of 68%, down from 69% in 2023, France drops 1 place in the rankings to number 24. A significant 5-point decrease in material well-being is the reason. This, in turn, is blamed on decreases in the income per capita and unemployment indicators. France is suffering high unemployment, especially among females and the young. Meanwhile, the tax burden is very high. On the other hand, the health sub-index is excellent, increasing to 90%. France has an exemplary healthcare system and performs especially well in terms of insured health expenditure, for which it's ranked number 1 globally. Quality of life also scores highly at 79%, although happiness levels in the country have seemingly dipped over the last 12 months, dropping 6 places in this year's edition of the World Happiness Report. Creeping up a spot to 23rd place is Japan, with a 1-point increase to 69%. Japan continues to lead the world in life expectancy, and its health sub-index is an impressive 90%. However, due to a worse insured health expenditure indicator, this has decreased since last year. Quality of life has also slipped because the happiness indicator has dropped slightly. On the other hand, Japan's finances in retirement score has remained the same because wages are rising. This could spell an end to negative interest rates, meaning those living off savings might be better off. The main reason for Japan's modest progress is a small increase in material well-being driven by better income equality. Still, the report says it lags behind many other countries in this measure. By contrast, America has dropped 2 spots to 22nd place. Its overall score of 70% has also fallen slightly since last year. Material well-being and quality of life are the culprits. The former has dropped to 62% with all its component indicators in decline, especially unemployment, thanks to a cooling labor market. The latter suffers from a decline in happiness, particularly among the young. The US Health Subindex performs better in percentage terms, but has still fallen 2 places to the 27th spot. Life expectancy is apparently improving, though it still trails various other developed countries. The US might do significantly better if seniors could access universal health care. According to one study, Medicare covers less than 2/3 of health spending for beneficiaries aged 65 or over. All is not free in the land of the free, it seems. As was the case last year, Malta is the best-performing Mediterranean country in 2024. Its overall ranking is up another percentage point, now standing at 70% in 21st place. Nataxis ascribes this to a 3-point improvement in the health sub-index that's been boosted by growing health spending per capita. The island's life expectancy score has slipped from 9th to 10th spot even though its percentage is higher. That's simply because other countries did even better. The overall material well-being score for Malta has increased slightly to 74%, while the quality of life score has risen 2 points to 63%, but it's still low compared to other countries. Among the positives for retirees in Malta, the country's good healthcare system, as well as relatively low and stable inflation and unemployment levels. The negatives, however, include the nation's air quality, which is deemed poor by European standards. Last year, South Korea slumped in the ranking. This year, it's up 1 place, squeezing into the top 20 with an overall score of 71%. The improvement is thanks to increases in the health and quality of life sub-indices. Health expenditure per capita shows a 5% advance, and the nation is currently in 3rd place when it comes to life expectancy. Meanwhile, the quality of life score has risen 2 percentage points to 61% due to an improvement in the happiness indicator. Other advantages include relatively low inflation, very low unemployment, and a solid banking system. It seems that living on one of the most dangerous political fault lines in the world can have certain upsides. Israel has dropped 2 places in the overall rankings since 2023. Somewhat surprisingly, the war that broke out in October last year goes unmentioned by Nataxis. Instead, there's a mixed picture of ups and downs in the 4 sub-indices, leaving the overall score unchanged at 72%. Finances in retirement have taken a hit, as has health, despite gaining 2 points in the life expectancy indicator. Quality of life is also going down, though Israel has maintained its 18th place ranking for that metric. Meanwhile, material well-being has risen to 22nd place this year, even though its score has gone down a point. Falling unemployment is the driving force here, apparently. One especially notable indicator is income equality, which has fallen by 7% since last year. As a result, it's dropped from 31st to 37th place out of all the countries in the report. Finland records the biggest drop of any of the 25 nations on our list, falling from 13th to joint 17th place with a score of 72%. According to Nataxis, this is down to an 8-point fall in material well-being. Yet in the happiness sub-index, the Nordic country retains the top spot for the 7th consecutive year. What's going on? Basically, despite falling inflation, more Finns are unemployed this year, especially in sectors like construction. What's more, the country's income per capita score is down, hence the poor material well-being performance. But in the quality of life sub-index, Finland is number 2 overall. Its water and sanitation indicators, as well as its air quality, are all excellent. Finland's health sub-index has also increased by a point, while income equality has increased by 4 points. Perhaps it's the simple things in life, rather than riches alone, that lift our spirits. There's another significant drop in the rankings next door to Finland. Sweden has fallen 3 spots to joint 17th place, while its overall score has fallen by 2%. Once again, rising unemployment has caused its material well-being sub-index to plummet, though a drop in income equality is also partly to blame here. Once again, a high quality of life, ranking 3rd place, comes to the rescue. Sweden is also exceptionally well placed in the health ranking at number 2 overall, mainly thanks to better life expectancy and strong performance on governance, plus improving government debt indicators see its finances in retirement score rise a point to 16th place. The Czech Republic fell out of the top 10 last year, but this year it's recovered some of its lost ground in the rankings, climbing to joint 15th overall with a score of 73%. The big success story is material well-being, where the Czech Republic has claimed the number 1 spot. The country has seen a slight increase in job seekers, but also an increase in job vacancies, so the unemployment rate is stable and low. The lowest in the EU, in fact. The Czech finances in retirement sub-index has also performed strongly with a 3-point rise and a 6-place jump to 17th. Its quality of life score is the same as last year at 70%. Along with Slovenia, Belgium has recorded the joint biggest jump in the rankings, climbing 4 places to number 15. Although its score has only risen marginally to 73%, improvement is consistent with progress across all 4 sub-indices. Within the health index, Belgium's life expectancy score has risen an impressive 12 points this year. The finances in retirement index is improved thanks to softening inflation, though Natixis notes some post-pandemic cost pressures remain. Material well-being is helped by a big gain in income equality, despite the fact income per capita is slightly down. As for quality of life, it's up 1 point and has maintained a 16th place ranking. If Belgium is to continue its journey up the rankings, it will need to address its high taxes and government debt. Notching up a score of 74% overall is the UK. Most of the country's sub-indices are unchanged from last year, but despite intense pressure on the country's public health system, the health category has risen 3 points. The reasons for this include rising life expectancy, health expenditure per capita, and insured health expenditure per capita. Material well-being is affected by a gloomier outlook for unemployment, though, with income equality up 4 points, the sub-index as a whole scores 65%. This is the same score as last year, and the UK has even managed to climb an extra place in the material well-being rankings. Quality of life and finances in retirement have also maintained last year's scores at 80% and 66% respectively, with the latter index benefiting from the fact that inflation has cooled to its lowest level in 3 years. As for the former, Britain's notoriously changeable and often drab weather escapes a mention. Canada's overall score of 74% is also unchanged from last year. Its performance is a mixed bag, though, with a worse rating for material well-being and what Natixis describes as solid results in other areas. Material well-being is once again the victim of a deteriorating labour market, with joblessness exceeding 6% this year. Accordingly, Canada's unemployment indicator has slumped 6 places to 28th position. In brighter news, the health sub-index scrapes into the top 10 with a 4% improvement, thanks to rising life expectancy and insured health expenditure. Unlike its American neighbour, Canada offers its seniors universal health care. Finances in retirement also sits in 10th place, as it did last year. Canada's interest rates have improved, and the nation has seen its inflation rate drop, but its peers have done even better. As for quality of life, its score is also unchanged from last year at 76% and 17th place. Increasing 3 places last year, Austria's position in the rankings is up and down like an alpine horizon. The country's score has fallen by 1 point to 74%. This is due to decreased ratings for material well-being, finances in retirement, and quality of life. Although in the latter category, Austria has maintained its impressive 9th place. Much of that has to do with its famously pure water, fresh air, and biodiversity. Another consolation is that its health subindex is up, with life expectancy rising to 81% as it turns a corner after the COVID-19 pandemic. The authors of the index point out that Austria is beginning to tackle its inflation, especially when it comes to energy prices, and that the economy is recovering from the Eurozone's recession thanks to a government stimulus package. The nation is also continuing to address unemployment, even as its unemployment indicator slips from 65% last year to 62% in 2024.
Visit any expat for relocation assistance and onlyowners.net for vacation rentals. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
As we mentioned earlier, Slovenia is this year's joint biggest mover, surging up the rankings from 15th place to 11th. It was way down in 21st place in 2022. Its overall score has risen 1 point to 74%. Čestitke, as they say in Ljubljana. This rise is thanks to increases in the subindices for health, finances, and quality of life, with Slovenia notching up more points for happiness. The better health score is driven by its health spending per capita and life expectancy, which at more than 81 years old is above the EU average. Meanwhile, finances has benefited from impressive progress on the inflation front. The material well-being subindex remains at the same level as last year, but since it scores 83% and takes second place, few people will be complaining. With New Zealand's 77% score, which puts it in joint 8th place, we arrive at the top 10. The nation is a good all-rounder, also achieving top 10-worthy scores in the finance and quality of life sub-indices. It secured 6th and 7th place, respectively, and decent health ratings. New Zealand's health system has widespread coverage, and this year insured health expenditure is up. If anything lets the side down, its material well-being, which has dropped 3 spots to 20th place. Still, it's hardly impoverished. Many will retire to this country for the great outdoors, the celebrated air quality, and other environmental factors. But with indicators for interest rates, inflation, and government indebtedness all on the up, there might be solid financial appeal for many senior citizens too. Denmark slipped from 9th to 10th spot last year. This year, it's gone back up again, and its overall score has risen by 1 percentage point. The reason is some excellent performance in the finances, in retirement, and quality of life sub-indices. In particular, positive forecasts mean its inflation category has stormed upward by no less than 40 percentage points, taking first place for this metric. For quality of life, Denmark is also the number 1, knocking the Finns off the top spot with a barnstorming 90% thanks to improving environmental and happiness scores. In fact, the only main Danish sub-index that's gone down is material well-being, with a 2% reduction and lower scores in all its indicator categories. Denmark's southern neighbor Germany also climbs 1 percentage point and one spot in the rankings, making joint 8th place with a score of 77%. Improvements to the sub-index for material well-being, for which it ranks number 7, are behind the rise. Germany is struggling with unemployment as its economy flatlines, but on the other hand, a significant boost in income equality has helped. Meanwhile, the health sub-index also increased 2 points, even as its ranking slipped thanks to better life expectancy and health expenditure per capita. Germany's finances in retirement sub-index hasn't done so well. Although inflation is in better shape than it has been, the rankings for its old age dependency, 38th, interest rates, 42nd, and tax pressure, 35th indicators, are poor and hold the country back. As you might expect from a country with political and economic pressures, the happiness index is down, and quality of life suffers accordingly. Still, Germany is in the top spot for its biodiversity and habitat, both of which will be seen as important by many retirees. Fair dinkum. Australia keeps the number 7 spot and a very respectable score of 78% in this year's index. It's nothing new since it's reached the top 10 every year for the past decade. Australia's strong response to the COVID-19 pandemic has paid dividends, with life expectancy rising, pushing its overall health score 2 points higher to a spectacular 90% and 7th place overall. In finances in retirement, it does even better with a number 3 ranking. With sunshine, space, and the great outdoors, the factors influencing its impressive quality of life score are what attract many people down under. And here, it doesn't disappoint either, moving up 2 spots to 13th place. One category that doesn't pass muster, though, is environmental factors, where it ranks a lowly 36th. Meanwhile, material well-being is down too, mainly due to unemployment, though Nataxis acknowledges that after reaching a 2-year high, joblessness may have peaked. From the world's biggest island to one of its tiniest countries, the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg is extremely affluent, and it makes joint 6th place in this year's index, even as it drops 1 place and 1 percentage point in its overall score of 78%. One significant factor in its continued high ranking is a very strong improvement in its life expectancy, which is now fully 2 years above the European average. The life expectancy indicator has risen this year by 10 percentage points, contributing to an excellent performance in the health sub-index, for which Luxembourg now has the top spot. The country's healthcare system, which is based on compulsory insurance, is envied worldwide. Luxembourg also has top 10 placings for finances in retirement, 8th, and quality of life, 10th. Nobody is immune to economic pressures, though, and due to a decline in the unemployment indicator, the Grand Duchy's material well-being score is down 4% and no longer features in the top 10. All is not perfect for the people of the Ardennes, but it's not half bad either. We're now into the top 5, and it begins with the Netherlands, which has climbed 1 place since last year, although its score of 79% remains exactly the same. It's a very good all-rounder, but Nataxis singles out health as an area in which the Netherlands has made particularly good progress. That sub-index is now number 8 overall, as is quality of life. Material well-being is even better, rising 2 places to number 3. Meanwhile, though it's improved its scores in government indebtedness and inflation, the Netherlands' finances in retirement sub-index has fallen 3 spots on a static score, only making 19th place. Natixis has declared the Netherlands especially retiree-friendly because it has world-class pension and healthcare systems, decent income equality, and a robust banking system. So ride a bicycle, wear clogs, Put tulips on the table, spending your golden years here could be as sweet as a pancake. Another country with exactly the same score as last year, Ireland, is also highly impressive. Ireland is unbeaten for finances in retirement, thanks especially to its low government indebtedness. But it's also surging ahead in health to 5th place, with all indicators improving. A lower ranking in life expectancy comes despite that indicator increasing by 3 percentage points. Meanwhile, quality of life climbs 1 place too. The problem is unemployment, and partly as a result of this, Ireland's material well-being ranking has dropped 2 places to 9th position. But that's still in the top 10, and with such a good overall performance, the luck of the Irish seems alive and well. In joint 2nd place, and notching up 81%, Iceland has the same score as last year. Nataxis quips that its scorecard is frozen. The small country has made a big impact in the material well-being and quality of life tables, securing 4th and 5th place, respectively, and its indicators for air quality, water, and sanitation come in at the very top. Only in biodiversity and habitat does it perform poorly, managing 38th place. Inflation is still a problem, as it's above the central bank target, and although the indicator for this category has improved by an impressive 14%, Iceland slipped 10 places down the rankings because of better progress elsewhere. Tax pressure is also an issue. All in all, this expensive, affluent country is holding its own, and it's very near the top. Things could be better, but only just. Last year's top-ranked country is this year's runner-up. Norway scores 81%, which is 2 points down on 2023. Its top 10 material in all the sub-indices except finances in retirement, and even reaches the top 5 for health and quality of life, where its long-standing attention to the environment, especially water quality and ecosystems, has been recognized by the United Nations. For instance, Nataxis notes enhancements to treating and filtering drinking water at treatment plants over the past 3 decades. Meanwhile, the health sub-index benefits from a life expectancy score of 93%, showing that Norway has left the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic firmly in the past. Finances in retirement scores 2% less this year, though, leaving Norway in a relatively poor 12th place for this category due to high taxes, along with weaker ratings in the old age dependency and governance categories. Interest rates, which are at a 16-year high, help mitigate the downturn. Drumroll, please. The best place to retire to, according to Nataxis, is Switzerland, which crept up from number 2 last year to steal the crown from Norway. Its 82% overall score has not grown, but who's complaining about that? The only country to achieve top 10 scores in all 4 main sub-indices, this wealthy alpine nation has seen strong performances in unemployment, income equality, life expectancy, and more. For finances in retirement, it's number 2 overall, despite a slightly lower score, blamed on interest rates and tax pressures. But these are balanced by a very strong showing in tackling inflation, with the central bank recently lowering its rates. While there's no free healthcare, all citizens must take out health insurance. Switzerland's healthcare system is held in high regard with a score of 91%. So, on top of the world, high in its fresh-air alpine paradise, Switzerland might be far from inexpensive, but sometimes good things don't come cheap.
Visit any expat for relocation assistance and onlyowners.net for vacation rentals. Don't forget to like and subscribe.